Hi there, and welcome to Q&A Wednesday. Hey, sorry, things pop up on my phone just as I get on here. You know, you can't help it. Eventually, maybe I'll have my own camera, but you know, until then, we just use what we've got. So, have an interesting topic for today. Today is not really controversial because after we start talking about it, you'll actually understand what we're talking about. But we're talking actually about whole foods versus prescription medication, or even just over-the-counter medication. And kind of course, I always have an opinion, but, you know, I do enough research to realize what is out there. And I'm kind of to the point in life where I'm not understanding why for such a technologically up-to-date country, and, you know, as smart as we all are, why we can't connect the dots. So we're going to talk just a little bit about that. First, really quick, I just wanted one more time to tell everybody from this last weekend, congratulations on the Night of Champions competition. Had a really great showing from the Tri-Cities. It was awesome, and it was amazing, and I got to coach my wonderful clients, and we just had a great time. We have one more show coming up November 11th in Shelton, Washington, and we have one client that's going to be there, and she is looking amazing. So super excited about that. And then tomorrow night, I actually haven't picked a topic for tomorrow night, believe it or not. Normally, I'm one of those type of people that I like to have everything figured out, but you know, it's been an interesting week, just trying to figure some things out. I know that when it comes to what I want to accomplish and what I want to talk about. So if you have any ideas, Thursday night is my real life topic. Last week, if you missed it, we had a really great guest. We had Melinda Moore here, and we talked a little bit about bariatric surgery and whether or not it's right for certain people, with questions you should ask yourself. So if you have a great option, you know, I'll come up with something great, because, you know, I like to keep it real. I'm a real person with the same issues. For those of you that have been following the couples challenge, you know that last week I sat down and ate my feelings one night. So have the same issues that everybody else has. It's just kind of fun to see that, you know, Melissa does silly stuff that everybody else does. But anyhow, so I'll come up with something, but if you have a great topic, you know, I love to hear from you, because that's how I get my best ideas. Okay, tonight we're going to talk a little bit about whole food versus medication. You know, it took me a lot of years to kind of understand what the benefits were in each direction. I really want to talk to, okay, so Donald wants to talk about a protein diet. We can't, Donald, do you have a specific question on that? Because I'd love to talk about the benefits of using protein in your diet. Right now, we're just going to talk mostly about whole foods. You know, I'm a firm believer that that both disease and health begins in the gut. If you saw my special guest, Emily Nielsen, a few weeks ago, we really got to talked a lot about gut health and microbiomes, and how, you know, your body's responses to certain things, you know, comes down to, honestly, a little bit of genetic predisposition, but that doesn't necessarily cause the issues. But sometimes some of the trauma that we cause our body from certain situations, or just the lack of eating decent, healthy foods, can actually trigger certain things in our bodies when it comes to autoimmune disease and some of those other things. You know, there are some problems that we kind of cause by our nutrition, or by our lack of decent nutrition and stress. So let's talk a little bit. First of all, before we get started, I'm really delving into this, I really want to make sure that you understand that I am aware that I am not a doctor. I am not making any medical claims. I am not telling you to do anything specific. Again, I can't prescribe anything. These are just my thoughts on the things that I've learned in the last few years about how our bodies work, and how I really believe that there are certain illnesses and diseases that we could avoid by eating better. And that, you know, really the way that processed food and the food industry has come down, they are working in a way that profits them, but that doesn't profit our bodies. And we have to be educated on that. They're not going to do that for us, because of course they're making money on our lack of knowledge. So you have to educate yourself on what works for our bodies and what makes you the healthiest possible. So keep that in mind. I also want everybody to understand that I don't believe that you should stop using any prescription medication or anything that has been suggested by your doctor, unless your doctor is actually on board with you in removing or discontinuing a certain prescription medication. You're on it for a reason, and that is not my expertise, and I don't want you to believe that it is such. So, you know, keep that in mind. I just want you to be able to make educated decisions. I think that is really important, that, you know, if you're putting something in your body, you should know what it is and what it's doing to you, what the benefits, what the side effects could be, the risks are. And a lot of people don't even really understand what they're taking or why they're taking it, and what other options that they have. You know, again, Miriam, this is me on my soapbox. I think that sometimes we're prescribed things because it's the easy thing to do. And so we really want to make sure that we're educated what all of our options are, and that a lot of times food can be the right prescription for our bodies. That can be the right way to go. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Some of the information I got today on an interesting website called mindbodygreen.com. I read a really great article by Dr. James S. Gordon, who really kind of delves into some of this and gave some great ideas that I'll include in this. Let's see, Donald saying Whole Foods, how it works. But eat red meat, it's more energy. Okay, well, in general, protein, Donald, protein actually, the different nutrients in your body do different things. Protein is your muscle build and what helps you to retain muscle. And of course, the benefit of muscle is not only just strength overall, but it's actually a natural fat burner. It helps us throughout our life as we get older in order to maintain balance and mobility. And so, it's necessary that we have some degree of muscle in our bodies. And if we don't give our bodies the right nutrients, it cannot build nor maintain muscle. So protein is just that. It is a form of energy. Your body actually can take protein and turn it into glucose and utilize it as energy, because carbohydrates are what gives our body the energy to function. So whenever we don't give our bodies what it needs, such as carbohydrates, it has to take other nutrients and turn it into an energy source. So I'm not a big fan of any sort of diet that actually leaves out a macronutrient, just because there are certain, I can't even talk today. It is definitely Wednesday. There are certain minerals and vitamins that each nutrient carries that you can't necessarily get in the same way from another nutrient. So, it all comes down to, is it a whole food option, a clean option, or is it a processed food? Because quality does matter. It doesn't come down just to calories. It also matters how that product is, if it's processed or whether it's whole. So keep that in mind. You've got to get a certain amount of protein, you've got to get a certain amount of carbs, and you've got to get a certain amount of fats. Just some options are much better than others. And so that's what it comes down to. Unfortunately, the American diet is a whole lot of sodium, a whole lot of sugar, a whole lot of processed food, and an abundance of such. And so our bodies actually take all that, and when we're giving it more than it really needs, it has to do something with it. So it stores it in the form of fat. And that's the problem that we're having in America, of course, today with the obesity epidemic, is that most of us are getting way more than we really need, and we're getting a processed form which our body more readily absorbs. So, okay, let's back up just a little bit. One of the things that I read today really talked, and again, this is not me being a doctor or an expert in this. This is just me getting some research done. But one of the things I read is it talked a little bit about the overconfidence that we have in prescription medication, or just in medication in general, that, a lot of times we believe that it does more than it really does. And we actually don't do the research to find out what percentage of people that actually benefits. So again, this is not my idea of stopping your medication currently. It's just that you should do your homework and your research and know what you're taking and why, and that it should work for you. However, I believe that everything that we do affects everything that we are. I believe in a holistic being, that if you're choosing to eat really crummy foods, things that are not healthy for us, it can affect you not only physically, but it can actually affect you mentally and emotionally as well. So if you think of yourself as a holistic being, and that everything you do, we all know that stress affects our health. We all know that not enough sleep affects our health. All these things come down to doing the best we can in each of these categories we talk about in order to be the most healthful person that we can be. So in order to avoid disease, because again, we all know there are certain diseases that are very well known that can be prevented with the right types of nutrition. One of them is diabetes, type 2 diabetes. That is an abundance of sugar where our body can no longer deal with it. It can't produce enough insulin to keep up with the amount of sugar we continuously put in our bodies. Heart disease comes from just eating really unhealthy foods, and we get those clogged arteries. Another one is obviously obesity. Again, the overabundance of unhealthy foods that our body has to deal with. Fat is your body's way of helping you survive. Your body has two goals. Number one, to survive, and number two, to avoid pain. So in order to deal with the amount of toxins and garbage that we put in our bodies actually kind of lock that away in fat stores in order to prevent our bodies from circulating all these toxins that could be, toxic to our body. So keep that in mind. So really there are certain diseases we can readily avoid just by eating a little bit healthier on a regular basis. Watch what happens on TV. Watch the amount of commercials that are for processed food. It's all for garbage. My biggest frustration are when people come to me and say, well, how about this? How about that? How about these pre-made foods? It's still a processed food. Your body it's not built to utilize processed food. There's way too many toxins and additives and preservatives our body doesn't know what to do with in those products. The healthier and cleaner that you can eat, again, if you cannot kill it or grow it, you probably shouldn't be putting it in your body. It just doesn't know what to do with it. So, most of us, unfortunately, instead of being able to avoid some of these foods that are not necessarily good for us, most of us would more readily take a pill, which is what most practitioners offer. So again, there's such balance there that needs to be reached where, sometimes medication is absolutely necessary. But are we doing everything that we can with our nutrition in order to prevent it from getting any further? Not only that, there are some diseases that we can actually reverse by eating better. Not always, but definitely can help with that. So let's see. John says, can you help me understand? You know what? That's a good question. But no, I can't at the moment. That is something that I could definitely research because I find it fascinating. But I obviously don't know enough about that topic right now to be able to explain that to you. So give me a chance to do some research on that. That's a great topic for another time. I'm consistently, guys, I am a former school teacher turned nutritional counselor and personal trainer, health and wellness coach. I love the research portion of it, the education portion of it, because I find it fascinating. I wasn't even good at science in high school, and now I love it. I love that portion of it. I love reading and finding out more and more and more. And the more I read, of course, the more that I can connect the dots and a lot more makes sense to me. And so I'm just trying to share that with you. And some of it's really common sense. Think about it. The better you eat, the healthier you eat, the better your body functions, the more efficiently it can work, the better you're going to feel. There's certain things where I really don't understand. I mean, I get it to a certain degree, but there are certain issues that people have that if they would just cut out a certain allergen, and it, for a lot of people, that's gluten. There are very highly allergenic nutrients that can make the body inflamed. And by avoiding those, people can actually heal their guts and feel better. But rather than do that, most of us don't want to give up those products. I don't want to give up pizza because I love it, but yet I'd rather feel like crap on a daily basis so that I can eat that. So again, we have to come up with that decision that, what? I actually eat very, very clean on a regular basis. Now, this is coming from a girl who grew up on processed food. My mother worked full-time as a school teacher. We were very good at, boxed food, TV dinners. I remember when TV dinners, you actually popped them in the oven, not the microwave. Yes, I'm that old. I grew up on those kind of foods and I didn't know any better. So, learning to eat in a healthier way has been a process for me. To learn to eat a little bit better. So, sorry, I'm getting a little bit off track. Superfoods. Let's talk really quickly a little bit about superfoods. Something to do with cholesterol. Yeah. But you know what, John, that is a really good topic. And I will definitely do some research because like I said, that's kind of my gig. There are some superfoods. I'm not going to call them superfoods. You know what? There are definitely some nutrients that are beneficial. And in order to help your body work a little bit better, you can include them in your diet. Things like apple cider vinegar does help your body become alkaline so that it doesn't vary one way, not too acidic. Your body actually functions a little bit better in a very specific environment. So, those kind of foods are great. Baking soda. Actually, baking soda originally included a whole lot of medical issues that they would solve on the back of the box until the government got involved and said you can't do that anymore. But if you look it up, you can actually find a whole list of things that baking soda helps with, which I find fascinating. It can also make your body more alkaline. So keep that in mind. All right. So back to the fact that I really do believe that a lot of the processed foods these days cause disease. I know that some people have a predisposition for certain issues. And so combined with an unhealthy influx or intake of some of those processed foods, it can actually cause some of those predispositions to actually become diseases. So keep that in mind. If you have the propensity to be that. So I know that type 2 diabetes runs in my family. My grandmother had type 2 diabetes. My mother is a type 2 diabetic. And I am very aware that if I don't take care of myself, that I have that predisposition to become a type 2 diabetic myself. It is one of the biggest reasons that I chose to go from being a very unfit, unhealthy, obese adult to finding a way to be much, much more healthy, and I like feeling good. So that's important to me. So a couple things. Not everything has been proven to be related to diet. However, I feel that at some degree it is. However, there are certain ones we've already talked about that are definitely related to diet. Like we talked about obesity, type 2 diabetes. So, food can be medicine or food can be poison. We have to decide which that's going to become. Certain foods for a lot of us, if we have that issue with inflammation within our bodies, if we eat the wrong foods, it's going to cause that. I've had more than one client who has struggled with some type of allergy or with inflammation within their body, but they just refuse to give up beer. And beer, of course, comes from hops and wheat, so it's going to obviously cause some, if you're highly allergic to or have that sensitivity to gluten, it's going to cause some issues. So again, you have to decide what are you willing to live with. So what I'm saying, I guess, in all is not that prescription medication should be taken away, but why is diet not the first thing that we look at? Why is nutrition not the first option? It's the least invasive. Anytime that you take a medication, whether prescription, whether vitamin, you are actually changing your body's chemistry, and not always in a good way. So why would we not take the most easiest, most least obtrusive, is that the right word, issue by making our diets or our nutrition more healthy and solve as much as we possibly can that way before we jump to medication as an option. Again, I'm not saying that medication isn't the option. I'm just saying how much could we solve just by cleaning up our nutrition. So a couple of tips, okay? Number one, if you are asked to be put on a medication, ask plenty of questions. Guys, I don't know if you've noticed, but doctors don't spend a whole lot of time with you. They don't know you very well. You have to be your own best advocate. If you're not sure what it is, what it does, what the side effects are, or if it's right for you, ask plenty of questions, and don't be afraid to do your own research just to make sure. I've actually been, in my lifetime, because I have some chronic neck and back issues, I've been offered multiple options for medication, and before I was willing to let that doctor write me a script, I went home and did my research. And even then, taking a few medications, there was some that I quit immediately because the side effects were so much worse than what they were solving. Yeah, like one of them I shouldn't have been driving. That's a little scary. So again, I always do my homework. I want to know what I'm putting in my body and what that's going to entail. And am I going to have worse side effects than it's solving? So again, just be aware. Just do your research. Know what the percentage of benefits that it gives you. Guys, again, go and delve into the research. Some medications might give you a 5% benefit. You should know that, because if it's doing anything negative, you want to know that is it actually benefiting you? The benefits should always outweigh the risks, right? What I'm talking about, and I'm sorry, I can't read your name here, but I'm talking about whether or not what you should be doing prescription medication wise. You should always know what you're taking. You should definitely have a good conversation with your doctor so that you're aware. And of course, good nutrition should always be part of your plan on healing yourself. So give me a second, because now I'm off track a little bit. Okay, so what the side effects are there alternative options to medication? Things like, I actually started getting heartburn when I was 12 years old. 12. No 12-year-old should be having heartburn. That's ridiculous. I now know that's because my body was obviously extremely not alkaline. And of course, eating foods that weren't good for me, like a lot of sugar, guys, a lot of sugar. I remember the first time somebody told me that they were going sugar-free, and I couldn't figure out why. Why would you do that? Why would you go sugar-free? Because fat causes fat, right? Yeah. Wrong education, people. So, finding out that, the influx of sugars was actually causing my heartburn. Now, of course, they've got so many medications, and most of them are over the counter. Guys, just stop eating crap. That's what it is. You gotta stop eating crap. It's not designed for our bodies. As long as you're eating the things that your body cannot handle, you're going to have the same issues, whether you take Prilosec or whatever the medication is. You have to stop eating the crap. Not saying that that's not good temporarily, but a lot of those products have long-term side effects that you don't necessarily know about. Some medications are really hard on your liver. Do what it takes to be the healthy person when it comes to your nutrition, and then decide whether or not that medication alongside your doctor, whether that is something that has been taken care of by your nutrition. So do your best to eat healthy, guys. I'm not saying don't ever eat the chocolate. I'm not saying don't ever have the pizza. I'm saying 90% of your nutrition should be super healthy, so that little bit that you want that's not as healthy doesn't make as big of an impact on your body. Support your gut health. If you're not sure if you're getting the right nutrients, or if you're needing a probiotic, or if you need to help your body's enzymes so you can break down certain nutrients, there are people that you can go to find out what to take. Again, Emily Nielsen, my good friend, that's her gig. That is her expertise. If you need her information, I am absolutely willing to pass that on to you. Make sure that you're getting all your macros, because again, you need to get all those. There's micro nutrients that you need, the minerals, the vitamins that your body needs, that aren't necessarily provided if you are solely eating one type of food, or if you're just eating a bunch of fast food, right? It's broken down, and you're not getting those healthy nutrients. Treat your body as a whole, right? Find a doctor who will listen to you, and also it's not a bad thing if your doctor is actually willing to look at your nutrition and stress management as a tool in order to solve some of those issues that you may have, especially if they're chronic. So again, I don't know it all. I'm not an expert. I'm just trying to give you some food for thought, something to think about, where, I really feel like we can heal ourselves if we're eating the right things and we're staying away from the foods that really are not good for us and not good for our bodies. Again, America, we're one of the worst ones when it comes to convenience, fast food, sugar, high fructose corn syrup. Those things don't necessarily belong in our bodies like we try to make them. So hopefully that helps. I love hopping on here. Like I said, I'm not trying to create controversy. I'm just trying to get people thinking. And again, if you have some ideas of what we can talk about tomorrow night, that would be awesome, because I love being part of your lives. So have a great evening, and we'll see you again tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Have a good night, guys.